Hi everyone, my name is Christine with OxygenFarm Quilts, and I would like to thank you for joining me today. These happy scrubs are from a client who retired after 48 years in nursing. I'm so excited to show you how I created this beautiful, bright LeMoyne Star quilt for her. Here we go. For each leg of the star block, I have two 5-inch squares in a pattern, two 5-inch squares in a solid, and two 5-inch squares in a white, which is my background fabric. So I will use my solid and pair it with a white, my print and pair it with a white, and then I will pair these two together. I'm going to be making half square triangles by sewing 1/4 inch from corner to corner on both sides. I have painter's tape on my table extension, which the end of the green tape is my 1/4 inch line, and where the blue meets the green is where my needle is. So I don't draw a line or iron a line. You can certainly do that. I just line up this corner with my 1/4 inch foot, and then I line this corner down here with the green tape because that is my 1/4 inch. I just keep that on there all the way down, and it will get me 1/4 inch away. And then I'm just going to chain piece these groupings together. Just continue on until I get through these and then go on to the next. I need to square my half square triangles to 4.5 inches. So I have a 4.5 inch ruler, and it has the 45-degree line on here. So I'm going to use painter's tape to make a ledge to make it easier for me to square up my half square triangles. I'm just lining the edge of the tape up with that 45-degree line. What it will do is give me a ledge that will butt up against the fabric that got folded over in the ironing process. So let's see if that's enough. It's just more of a reminder so it doesn't slide on me as much, and that seems pretty good. So they're pretty close to 4.5 inches, but I don't love to square up, but as I get to piecing, it really helps a lot. And I'm going to make this a little bit longer because it's kind of wobbling on me. So I'm going to make my pieces of tape just a little bit longer to get me a little bit better accuracy. Go ahead and reuse these pieces. That's better. And I'm not trimming off a whole lot. I like it when I don't have to keep picking up my ruler. After squaring up. So see, there's not a whole lot there, but that can make a difference as you're piecing your quilt. Okay, I have my 2 blue and white half square triangles, my pink and white print half square triangles, and then my blue and pink half square triangles. They finish at 4.5 inches, and then I need 4.5 inch by 4.5 inch background pieces. So each set is going to make one set of legs for the star. There are 4 legs per star. So here, let me show you how they lay out. So with these 2, so I can separate them. Okay. And so I use the 2 pattern print colors first. And there you can see there's one set of the star leg. Let me move this up here. This will be the other set. And so you can see I could turn it to where if I wanted the blue on the bottom, I could do that. Now I'm going to mix up these because she has a lot of different clothing pieces that are super bright and colorful. So this will be a set in one of the stars, and then this will be a set in another star somewhere within the quilt. So you can see it makes that tulip shape, but it's actually going to be a star. Now this grouping of these star legs have to be together because of this part. So I'm going to go ahead and sew these together like a 4-patch because I know these are going to always be together. And this is 1/4 of the star leg. And so as I get the other pieces sewn together, then I can play around with pattern and color within each star. When sewing, I like to always start with my fabric underneath the needle and a little bit past it. Take a few stitches forward and then reverse and then go back. And then I just chain piece. That way I don't have to keep reversing, which you don't have to do in quilting, but it prevents the fabrics from being pushed down into my feed dogs. I have a brand new needle on here, but sometimes that just happens, so I just try to avoid it. Take a few stitches, line everything up, realign my bottom, put my finger there and hold it. And then I'm going to bring this one over. This is my other grouping, and then that one over there, and that one over there. Okay, and I don't want to cut every thread. I just want to cut the 2 within that block. Open it back up, make sure that that is correct, fold it over and finish my 4-patch. What's nice about working with bias which bias can be very intimidating sometimes, but a lot of times it can work for you. So after I've done a few stitches past where the two fabrics meet, I am realigning this corner with the back side of this block. So it seems like there's a little bit of puckering, not a lot at all. So that's what I like about it, because if there was a lot on the top or the bottom, you just hold this right here and just let your machine and your feed dogs do the work for you. It will adjust all on its own. Take a few stitches. I always like my bottom fabric fold to be coming towards me and my top to be going that way, so that when it goes down, as it's pushing, it gives me a nice point. It doesn't always happen that way, but I tell you what, when I'm able to manipulate this seam to where this top seam is pointing that way and the bottom's that way, my points come out real nice. Okay, so I've gotten past that seam. I'm realigning down here. There's no puckers at all in this one. And there we go. Beautiful. Whenever I cut up a shirt, I always go up one side seam of the shirt through the underarm, and then follow that seam up across the shoulder seams, and then go down around the arm seam, and then I go down the other side seam there. I have found that this gives me the most usable fabric to work with. Sometimes I'll cut off each sleeve because that gives you a lot of fabric to choose from as well. This nurse's scrubs have such bright, happy colors in them. Plus, I want to make sure that I can get the characters within my half square triangle without, their heads being cut off. So the 45-degree line on my ruler is my guide as I am cutting my 5-inch squares. So you can see, like after I sew 1/4 of an inch, I should still be able to get the zebra and the giraffe within this 5-inch square. The other side is going to have the sunshine. It's going to have this character's nose in it, but we won't know what that is, so I'm good with that. It looks like we'll also have a little bird perhaps, but we have plenty of fabric to choose from on these nurses scrubs, and so I'm going to be fussy cutting all of the ones for this particular fabric to make sure to get these characters within there. So I'm just going to go ahead and go up here. Come across to the back. And typically a little note, when I am working with fabric that is clothing, I like to start off with the back of the piece first, because come on, we all stain clothing on the front. That's where it gets the most wear, is on the front. So I always like to work with my back piece first, the back of the clothing first, and then move on to either the arms or the front. It just kind of depends on the fabric. Now, a lot of times the pattern is only on the front of clothing, and the back is plain. So of course you adjust for that. So I'm trying to move around my camera. So sometimes it's hard for me to line up and cut and film all at the same time. So here we go. Okay, so here, It's so cute. Oh, I love this. Okay. So I will just move on to another one, kind of see where we're at. I really want to get this guy in here with this bird. So I'm just going to continue on and get everything all cut up. Okay, I have all of my fabrics cut. I have my 4.5-inch squares, which would be for this upper corner here. This piece is from one of the clothing items. And then I have my 5-inch background squares cut. And then I have all of my uniform pieces cut. And I have paired the two sets with what they're going to be sewn together in. So just like I paired these two together, these two sets are going to be together. Okay, I have grouped my piles into categories separated by the pattern, not necessarily the solid color. I had the pattern be my dominant so I can make sure that those are distributed evenly throughout the quilt. So this is how I'm making the star block. So I just want to be pretty random. And if I can, do pattern, solid, pattern, solid. Sometimes I probably won't be able to necessarily do that all the time, but that's my goal. I think that will be pretty good. And maybe this one. Okay, yeah, I like the look of that. So then after I do this, then I will just sew them together into a 4-patch and deal with one big star block before I lay out my quilt. Okay, now sew my star legs into one big star. Sew it together just like I'm sewing a 4-patch. And I am just making my seams go the way that I want them to go. These are nesting well. Right there on those half square triangles. Once I get past that joint, then I'm sewing here. Like I said earlier, I always like my bottom fabric to be towards me. So I'm going to fold that seam down and make this seam go up. Going that way. So the bottom down, top seam that way. Just go till I get past it so it's nice and secure, and then line up my corner here. Now when I do the rest of these, I'm going to chain piece and I'm just going to keep going. But for this part of the tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and cut my threads. My machine's acting a little weird on my thread cutter, so that's why you heard that loud sound. But so here I'm just making sure that everything's lined up correctly and then fold it over. I like to start on my fabric. For the first one, take a few stitches forward, back stitch to lock that in. And then fold that together, press it with my finger, make sure that I'm gonna have those fabrics together so my point looks pretty. Get past it. Scooch it over the fabric up here if I need to. And line up there. I'm going to go ahead and backstitch here, just because when I'm working with these large blocks, and there that goes again, on my design curtain, I want to make sure that the seams aren't coming apart. So there it is. Oh God, that's so pretty. Looky little Tinkerbell. Yay. Okay, I have all of my blocks finished. They measure 16.5 inches by 16.5 inches. And so many times I will lay out my blocks on the floor, but I do have a design curtain. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this out. It works great because it can stay out of the way. I do have a support bracket right here. So this is going to be a queen size quilt, so I will need to scooch my curtain all the way over to get as much space as possible. With the large blocks, I am doing 6 across by 6 down, so it's going to be a square quilt, which I'm a big fan of square quilts for beds, because when you make the bed, it doesn't matter which way you lay it on the bed. You can turn it however you want. And with these cute characters and shapes on these star blocks, it will work really good. So let me get my stool back out. And so you'll see here that I have a few piles. Let me move the camera so you can see that. Okay, these are my 3 different piles for my star blocks. The eye is drawn naturally to the color yellow, so I want to make sure that my dominant yellows are distributed evenly throughout the quilt. So this pile over here has this yellow star leg in every block. This pile over here has the yellow scrub top that is from the Dr. Seuss shirt that she had. And then this pile is just all the other stars that don't have a dominant yellow in it. There is some yellow here and here, but I'm not that worried about it. I'm just more worried about the dominant yellow and making sure that those get distributed evenly throughout the quilt. Okay, once I have the layout that I like, I use pieces of paper with numbers on them to mark each row. And then I just go through and pin the rows together, and then take the entire row over to my sewing machine and stitch the rows together. Once the rows are all stitched together, then I sew those rows together. The process of this works really well for me because I can get things turned around really easy, and this is just something that I have found that is really helpful. I added a small 2.5-inch border and then loaded this beauty onto my long arm, where I stitched a freehand edge-to-edge design with some swirly swirls and some paisleys and a few random hearts here and there. I like to call my long arm style quirky quilting because my lines may be a little bit wobbly or my curves may not be very smooth, but all in all, it certainly looks pretty when it's all done. Look how perfect she landed there. So cute. I hope you have enjoyed watching this tutorial on her LeMoyne Star quilt. And please take a look at how her Lifetime of Memories quilt looks on her beautiful bed. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day.